Hello, everyone. This is Cafdil TV, and we bring you another edition of Religious Vocation Digest. If it is your first time, remember that you can also join us on Facebook, Cafdil Cape Coast, YouTube, Cafdil Edu. We are discussing why some congregations or some religions wear the habit and others do not. I will not tell you who my guests are. They will introduce themselves to you, and then we continue with the discussion. On my left is
I'm Sister Renata Juta Essien, CSC. I'm a Holy Cross sister, and this is my 10th year in the Congregation of the Sisters of the Holy Cross. I'm a teacher by profession. Thank you.
My name is Sister Callista Tete, and I have been a sister of the Holy Cross for 10 years. We are actually bandmates.
okay.
And I'm an attorney.
Okay.
I practice law in Takrady.
Okay. Sisters, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Good. Let us know your congregation. Any history for our cherished viewers?
Okay, so our congregation was formed by a man named Blessed Pastor Anthony Mary Moreau. And he's a Frenchman. And he was born around the 1700s, the late 1700s. And he grew up to become a diocesan priest. And he grew up after the aftermath of the French Revolution. And so his passion was to restore the French education system and also help revive the interest in religion. He came from a small village in France called La Man. So as a diocesan priest, he also liked to preach. So he gathered a group of priests like himself, and they would go to the villages and teach and preach. And around the same time too, there was a group of laymen who we popularly call brothers. And they had been formed by another priest called Father Dijari. And Father Dijari was old, so he wanted somebody else to take care of, yes, the group of men, laymen. And so he entrusted them to Father Moreau. So Father Moreau's group of priests and Father Dijari's group of brothers came together. And our founder was an interesting person. He was really interested in a familiar relationship. So he said, I have men, I need women to make my family complete. So he also received a group of women, and so they became like a family. And as the congregation grew, he modeled it after the Holy Family, the Father, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And he dedicated the priest to the heart of Jesus. So the priests are known for the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The brothers were dedicated to the heart of Joseph. So Joseph is like dear to them. And of course, the women were dedicated to Mary. But actually, he dedicated the entire congregation to the patronage of Our Lady of Sorrows. So our sort of patron is Our Lady of Sorrows, Mary, Our Lady of Sorrows. And one will ask, why Holy Cross? Why did he choose to call his congregation Holy Cross? Where he lived and where the congregation evolved was called Saint Croix. In French, it's Holy Cross. So actually, the name came from the neighborhood.
Exactly.
And so as the congregation grew, he found a spiritual meaning in the word Holy Cross. So we say that the cross is our only hope. Ave Cruz Spes Unica. And so that hope of restoration of the French society, that hope of spreading the gospel, it's like the society was so devastated that he knew that there was hope in the cross. It's in the cross that he can put his trust in and hope that the future will be better. And so he found a spiritual foundation in it and maintained the name Holy Cross. our founder also had a missionary spirit. So right after, even before the congregation was approved officially, he had sent men to the northern part of Africa and later on to the United States. So all that while they were still seeking approval as Congregation of Pontifical Rights. But even before that approval came, he sent people out. But Rome did not allow him to put the men and the women together. It wasn't allowed. So he had to form the Congregation of Holy Cross, made up of the brothers and priests. And then assisted the women to also form another congregation with the help of a colleague called Sister Mary of the Seven Dolours. So together with her, she was the first superior general of what he termed the Marianites of Holy Cross. So when the sisters were formed at the beginning, were called the Marianites of Holy Cross.
I think I've come across it somewhere.
Yes. So Marianites.
I thought it was different from you.
Right now it's different.
Okay.
Yes. Because the women's group became 3 congregations eventually.
Okay.
So those that remained in France maintained the Marianites. So some, as I said, were sent to the United States, and those that went there became Sisters of the Holy Cross. So we are the products
of Sisters
of the Holy Cross. Some sisters were sent to Canada as part of Father Moreau's missionary zeal, and they became Sisters of Holy Cross. So that's the distinction. So they are Sisters of Holy Cross, and we are Sisters of the Holy Cross. Of course, we all spread to different places. So the Marianites right now have their generalate in the US. Even though their mother house is still in France, but their general administration is in the US. The Canadian Sisters of Holy Cross have their generalates and mother house in Canada. They are also in Haiti, even Burkina Faso. They are in different places. And Sisters of the Holy Cross generalate and mother houses at St. Mary's, Notre Dame, Indiana, in the United States. So they spread to other places. So currently, Sisters of the Holy Cross are in 4 continents. We are in North America, in the US and Mexico. South America, we are in Brazil and Peru. Africa, we are in Ghana, obviously, and Uganda. And then in Asia, we are in India and Bangladesh. So you can see that in every country, continent, we are
represented.
Yes, we are represented. We are not represented in Australia, but maybe someday.
Very soon.
Yes, someday we'll get there. So, but we still have that bond of family. So even though the men and the women are different congregations, we find ways to collaborate with one another. We do things together, especially in countries where, like Ghana, where you have both the men and the women. In Ghana, the brothers of Holy Cross are here. The priests are not here. So, and we are here, so we collaborate and do things together.
I hope to have them here one day.
Sure, that would be good. We should have brought them, actually. Yes, so that's just a little bit about our history. We came to Ghana.
I was coming to us that one.
Yeah. In 1983. So we celebrated our 40th anniversary last year.
Yes, I wasn't invited.
Oh, we will invite you to the 50th.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, 1983, upon the invitation of the bishop at the time, I think it was Bishop Sam who was there at the time, and the men had already come. The men came to Ghana in 1957 during the independence. So they had been here and they were into education. And mostly when you look at our trend, wherever the men go, one of the sisters group is bound to follow. And so they, upon the invitation of the bishop, we settled first in Second Itakrade. We had the brothers helped us put out a small house there, and then our sisters started working catechesis and healthcare in that place in Takrady. Then in '98, we were invited to the Archdiocese of Cape Coast by the Cardinal,
Okay.
Peter Texton. And we went back to Takrady to open another community in 2018 at Asokwe Sama. Yes, and then now
That beautiful house.
and now we are at Ekwe too. We recently
Okay.
were invited to manage a vocational school called St. Luke's Vocational School.
All right.
It belongs to the diocese, so
Okay.
our sisters
And then-
are there. Yeah,
okay.
so
Yeah. Thank you, sister.
thank
That
you.
was deep.
So that's Holy Cross.
Yeah. There are so many congregations. Even in Ghana, I don't think we can number them. Why did you settle on Holy Cross?
Thank you,
Sister
sister.
Renata.
As you said, we have many or different congregations in Ghana. However, choosing Holy Cross, I would say just by the grace, because I personally started having this desire of becoming a religious when I was a little child. And so I went for come and see at different places, not so much, but at least one come and see at a different congregation. Then a friend of mine also introduced me to Holy Cross. And I visited. And usually when you visit, you look at how they do things. You look at how
They will even receive you.
the way they receive you, the reception. It was good. And what really kept me or is keeping me is the community spirit. The very day I set foot there, I found that community spirit very enriching. And so I felt I want to try it. That was what I used. I want to try. And so I tried. And I remember my first attempt. The sister then, Sister Esther Intua, she was the vocation director at that time. I remember one time she told me that this is Holy Cross. We don't wear habits. And I remember all I said to sister was that I want to be a sister. And here I am, a sister.
Yeah.
And so I chose Holy Cross, as I said earlier, it's just by the grace and also the community spirit, the way they live their life. That is what attracted me to join Holy Cross.
Okay. During your formation time, did you encounter any difficulty?
Yes,
Share with us.
you want to know, right? Good. So, as I said, community life is something very enriching and something that everybody yearns for. And that same community living can sometimes also be a challenge, especially living with people from different backgrounds,
Yeah.
people with different educational level, people with different cultures. And as we all know, even in our families, sometimes you have issues with
Oh,
one
yeah.
another. And so I would say that something that I found very attractive that brought me is something that I also found a little challenging at the initial stage. However, if I should weigh the life-giving aspect and the challenges, I would say that my life-giving aspect has been more than the challenges that I've faced. So it's been so much enriching.
Glory to God.
Amen.
Sister Calista, why Holy Cross?
I knew the brothers.
Okay.
I was at a school. My parish was St. Augustine's College.
Okay.
I lived at the district hospital. It used to be the central hospital at the time. And so we went to mass there and we played around there. We even had a choir at the school. We had a lot of fun. And I knew the brothers. And at the time I was minding my business. And then I was in the university, I think third year or so. So I knew one of the brothers was very close. We were close. And so he was traveling and introduced me to one of the sisters. That, oh, if you want to talk or you have any, you can call her and talk to her and whatever it is. And I am in touch with her, so you can reach me through her. So I was like, okay. So one day she called me from school and invited me to visit. So I did. So I just visited as somebody I knew.
Okay.
And she lived at Takrady, where I live now. So I went there and I met another Holy Cross sister. there. And as my sister said, the way they lived their life was very simple to me. And I had not been around a lot of religious.
Okay.
And one of the things that it was like an organized life. So we would wake up in the morning, we would go to church. When we come, we'll eat breakfast. They will go to work. So that's one of the sisters was the one I visited was a teacher, a sister Esther, and the other one that lived there was teaching at the nursing school. So she would go to work. Sister Esther would also go to work, and then I'll be there just lie on the bed. She asked me to go to their library, find myself a book to read. And then they would come, we would eat again. And then in the evening, we would pray together and we would watch TV, news. And then we would go to sleep. I was like, that's simple. It was very simple. And at the time, I think I was searching for, my life's meaning, what I would do after school and all that. I had my little plans. But when I went to visit, the plan became a little distorted because I felt like there was a push somehow. But I didn't really pursue it. I just did my thing. I finished school and I would still visit when I returned from school. So it was after I graduated that one day Sister Esther visited me. I'm a Cape Coast girl, so I used to work at a lab at what's the name of the place? Cathedral Down. I think in Dodo also.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lab there. It's called Top Medical Lab.
It's still there.
Yes. So she passed by and then she came to visit and told me in the conversation. She said, "Okay, I'm visiting a lady in Sunyani who has expressed interest in joining us." But as at that time, we had never talked about whether I was interested or not. We never talked about it. So I was wondering, why has she never asked me whether I was interested? And I couldn't ask her that. But when she left, I sent her a text. I still remember the text that, "If you are looking for people, why haven't you asked me?" And she just laughed. She immediately called me and laughed and laughed and was like, "Well, I didn't want it to be like I'm trying to impose my life on you. But I had begun that yearning had been there. So we talked and then she said, "Okay, you can search more. You can even visit other congregations," because I was not really familiar with other congregations. So I went back to school to do my national service. I did it at Tech. I went to Tech. So I did my national service there too as well. And then when I was there, I started to talk to the sisters that came to church. The FSTs were coming, they would give communion. And then I met another sister, medical mission sister. So she also invited me to their community in Tichiman. I spent a weekend with them, still searching and exploring, because she actually advised me to explore. She's lucky I stayed in Holy Cross because I could have gone somewhere. That's what makes me feel like really it's God's plan, it's not our plan. But so after my service, I just came and said, let's see how this goes. And so far, it's been good. I feel like I'm at peace. It's not all rules and, but I feel happy.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yes, I feel happy as a sister. And I feel like I'm a better Christian by being a sister. So I guess that's something.
That's nice. Thank you, sister. So if you're just joining us, this is Cafdil TV and you're watching Religious Vocation Digest. My guests are from the congregation of the Sisters of the Holy Cross. Sisters of the Holy Cross. So that in case you want to join them, you don't miss it. Sisters of the Holy Cross. You can also join us on Facebook, Cafdil Cape Coast, YouTube, Cafdil Edu. Sister Renata,
Yes, sister.
every congregation has its own charism. What is your charism?
Okay. So, Sisters of the Holy Cross, what we say is that we respond to the needs of the time. So, in responding to the needs of the time, it could be that, let's say, right now at this time, there's something that is bordering around, and immediately we respond to it. So, we respond to the needs of the time as and when it arises. So, we discern the need and we respond to it. So, it means that whenever there is a need, we descend upon it before we respond to it.
Okay. Do you share the same charism with the men?
Well, basically, we have the same philosophies. The men, you hear them say, we are educators in the faith. That's like their mantra. And we also do work in education. We do work in healthcare, and we do other pastoral. And we would like to see ourselves as prophetic women because, as she said, we look at what needs to be done and we try to respond to the need. And so even that reflects in the kinds of ministries we do. And when we first went to Indiana in the United States, there were Indian girls that needed to be educated. And we jumped on that. And so we have a school which is a big college now for women. So girl child education. And then in the US itself, there was a civil war. And they needed people to nurse the wounds of the soldiers. Holy Cross sisters were there. They jumped on board. So the first Navy ship, our sisters were. So when we came to Ghana, secondly Takrady, one of the needs that we found was formation, catechist formation. And so one of our sisters, Sister Madeleine Therese, who lived in our house in Takrady, is well known for that ministry. So she went all over the country doing formation for catechists. Okay. So if you go to the Takrady Pastoral Center, you see that there is a plaque there bearing her name in recognition of all the work that she did for the catechists. And then also healthcare, mental health. You know, one of our sisters that came was a nurse, and she specialized in mental health care. And she is well known. There's a center called Damien Center where she would receive people with mental health issues, give them food, give them their medication. It was like a daycare area. And so we look at wherever we are, we look at what do we need to do. Right now we are into recycling of plastic waste. And when you look around, we realize that God's creation is no longer beautiful because of the way it's been. Plastic waste is a menace in Ghana. And our way of responding to it is to do education on its impact and also do some of the collection as well. So we try to open our eyes. In Kaswa, when we went where we live now, there was no school around the place. And now it's a big place, but when we went there, it was in the bush. So our sisters started receiving it. The school started at a convent. And then God being good, we were able to put up the structures and the kids are there. So we look at what needs to be done. And then we try to do what we can by the grace of God as a way of responding. Yes.
So with your recycling projects, where is it located?
In Kaswa and in Takrady, but sometimes our van come around to Cape Coast to pick up plastics. And sometimes schools in Cape Coast even invite our sisters to come. I think Sister Comfort even recently went to do some talk with Cape Coast Teaching Hospital to collect their waste. So we call it Sisters Organizing and Advancing Recycling, SOAR for short. So,
that's nice.
Yeah. So we try to do that, and we are looking for ways to expand. So we are still on it. Kakran.
So now to the big question. I know my viewers are asking, these sisters have introduced, or these ladies have introduced themselves as sisters, but why is their dressing different from mine? I know you are asking, they are here to answer that. So now the big question, what is the religious habit? When we say the habit, what is it?
The habit is basically a gown that religious men and women put on as one of their identity. So it's a gown. Like, so it usually comes with, for the men, it comes with like a straight, what they call tunic, and then they have, sometimes they have cord, and sometimes different designs. Like our Holy Cross men, they have a white with black buttons. I think they have some meaning for it, and then a black cord. And those who are finally prophets, they have the medal of Saint Joseph, which they put on. And most women, as we can see, you wear the straight dress and the veil. So most women congregations wear the dress and the veil. So it's part of the identity of religious.
Is the habit different from the cassock? Because Catholics are more familiar with the name cassock. So I believe some people are hearing it for the first time, that what sisters and brothers wear, or the religious wear, is called habit, not the cassock. Is there any difference?
Yeah, mostly the cassock is worn by priests, mostly diocesan priests. Yes, and I don't know the etymology of the word cassock, but what I know is that is worn by priests as part of their vestments, and sometimes it's something they wear when they are going on maybe visitation, or they are doing something which is associated with their office as priests. Yes, but with the habit, it's like our dress. Those who wear it's like it's part of their identity, and it actually has, in some congregations, it has meaning. Every part of the habit has a meaning that is assigned to it, which sometimes define their charism. For example, I know that with the Franciscans, they keep on it. The history is that when they are mendicants, so when they go begging, they put
their stuff there.
Exactly. So there is some history associated with the garb that sisters, and I'm sure that even if we are to ask you, you may have a meaning for every.
If I start sharing my life,
exactly. So the habit is actually part of the identity of the religious. I'm stressing on parts because it's not the only identity of religious. Yeah.
So why do some congregations wear the habit and others do not? Like your congregation.
Yes, we do not wear habits now, because we've worn habits before.
Okay.
Yes, we used to wear habits.
Tell us more.
So basically, our habit was like the dressing of the peasants, women in Le Mans, France.
Okay.
That's how they used to dress. It was like a full gown. They would cover their hair with something. And so as time went by, the question, as I said, it was like the way the peasants dressed. So it emerged from that. It was a way of identifying with the poor of the society, because the peasants were poor. So after the Second Vatican Council, so there was invitation thrown at all religions to go back to their roots, go back to their founders' charisma, go back to why they were formed. And so as part of the conversation was like, in our formation, what role does the habit play in who we are, our identity, our charisma, and all of that? And I believe that there were a lot of conversations that went on at the time. And the decision that emerged was, we want to be simple, and two, we want to define our identity outside of the garb. And so we would want a situation whereby we will be identified as religious, first by the vows we make, and second by the nature of our character. And so, and while it's fine, it's good to be easily seen as a sister, because if I were to wear a veil, it would be easy for somebody to perhaps identify me. But it's I we believe that it is worthwhile to be also identified by the way you relate with people, the way you are free, and the way people are able to approach you to bring the share their issues, problems, whatever it is that they would share with you. And so we felt like the habit doesn't add to that nature. It somehow, sometimes we feel like it even takes from it, because in the fact sometimes it limits you. We are put at a pedestal when the habit is there, because you know how there is some regard in a higher estate than someone who is not. And really and truly, apart from the priests who are religious, sisters and brothers, we are lay religious, and we want to identify with them. And so our leaders believed that it would help us to do that. So we put the habits aside. It wasn't an easy thing. You know, as they say, old habits die hard.
Yeah.
Yes. So some of our sisters, some of them, even when I joined, some were still wearing.
In Ghana.
No, not in Ghana,
Okay.
but in the US. There's a sister, Sister Ignatius. She said that if I die and you don't bury me in my habits, I'll come back. So she died in her habits, and it took a while for them to come to terms with it, but eventually said, okay, let's put down the habit. So we were encouraged to dress like the way women dress. So if you go to our congregation, like those in Asia, for example, they wear the shari, and they wear the simple shari, so that it won't be so much extravagant. And then we are encouraged to wear what women wear, simple, modest, not to accessorize too much, so that it makes you we don't also want to bring scandal, so we try to be moderate. Yes, so that, I don't know if it answers your
Sure.
question.
It is. Sister Renata, so what identifies you as a sister without the habit?
Okay. So as my sister rightly said, our way of life is one of the ways that we can be identified. And we also have different symbols that we wear. You can see Sister Callista with her cross,
Okay.
and when you see this cross, those who know Holy Cross, you know she belongs to the congregation of the Sisters of the Holy Cross. I also have another one here. It is also a symbol that we use. We have the symbol when every stage in our religious journey, and the symbol that we get,
Okay.
at least right from first profession to final profession, we have different symbols that identify us as religious.
Okay.
So most people who have come into contact with Holy Cross, once you see this, we have another one called a silver hat. You usually get it during the final professional vows. So once you have that one, or you see that one, you can identify us as Holy Cross sisters. But the main thing is my way of life. And I, as a person, should be able to recognize myself first as a religious, as a sister, before the other person can do that. Because if I'm not able to accept the fact that I'm a religious, or identify myself as a sister, then it makes it a little difficult when others are not able to recognize me. So first of all, my own way of life, and being able to identify myself as a sister. And so I remember one of the sisters jokingly said, when I wake up, I look into the mirror and I see myself as a sister, and I move out to reach out to the people.
Yeah.
I hope it's clear.
Sure. Thank you for that. This is, I don't know if I should. Has it ever happened that you were in the midst of religious and then lay people, maybe at a gathering, and you were not regarded as a religious?
Yes, It has happened several times. And it is very obvious that when somebody doesn't know you, the person may not be able to identify you as a group of people. And we know that here in Ghana, now it is better. But before, every religious is identified with a gap or a habit. And so when you go for programs, personally I've experienced that. And even with people seeing your cross, it is not enough for them. So they are like, this place is for the religious. And you are among the religious going. They are still insisting that it is for religious.
Probably you missed your way.
Probably. So sometimes there are other sisters who may be in a habit and will tend to them to say that, yeah, she's also a sister. Or sometimes I will smile. There was a time I told somebody, if you are calling nurses and I'm not a nurse, I will not join. But to them, they don't understand.
Yeah.
So, yes, we have faced that. Even some priests don't know us, especially if you appear. Sometimes you have to introduce yourself, and it takes some time before they get to know that you are religious. But as I said at the initial stage, once you know and accept and identify yourself as a religious, these things do not bother you much. There are days that it may be something really I'm not, but if the identity is not so much about the habits and you identify yourself as a religious, you don't get to be bothered a lot. So we have faced that. But now it is better. Gradually, people are getting to know us. People are getting to know that some religions do not put on a habit. And so sometimes they identify us by our symbols. And then they see a particular cross. It doesn't look like the ones that they sell. So they are able to tell that, okay, this person may be different or special.
And that is why this program is also very necessary, just to educate Catholics and then the world that it's not every religious that wears the habit. We have others that are nice and simple and modest mufti. Sister, have you had any experience?
Oh
as
yeah,
sister shared?
yes.
Okay.
You'll be in a queue and somebody will tell you that it's for
It's only for-
religious, it's for religious and priests. But the thing is that, you know, I'm a sister first of all for myself. I'm not a sister for somebody. That is one. And so once that understanding is there, I didn't become a sister. I don't feel God called me so that others will recognize me. Well, hopefully they will recognize me through my words, my behavior, and the way I relate with people, but not recognition as in the habit. If I feel like with that understanding, it's easier, and I will encourage a young person discerning to discern in that light too. That if you feel like being a religious, the identity of the habit is important to you, it's important you go to a congregation that wears it, because we all are not at a level where we probably are okay with not being identified by somebody as a sister. So you have to answer that question, I guess, for yourself before you decide to join a particular group. So for me, I'm okay. I am just okay.
I know.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question outside the box.
Mhm.
You are a law practitioner and you are religious. How do you blend it, and how has been your experience so far?
Well, so being a sister is who I am. Being a lawyer is my job. So I always try to lay that emphasis on for myself, because I can always stop practicing law if I feel like it's getting in the way of my religious life. But so far, I don't think there has been a conflict yet. So far, I feel it's been a tool that has helped me to reach out to people, and that's the goal, is to reach out. And some people have this notion that lawyers do all kinds of things, but I haven't seen that part yet. It's a human
Institution.
yes, and there are people cut corners and all that, but it's the practice itself. There is no wrongdoing in and of itself, it is the way you choose to do it. That's what is important. But I have not yet had that conflict. And that the beauty of being a lawyer and not a judge is that you can choose the area of law to practice. Yes. So if I feel that area I don't want to involve myself, it's a choice that I can make. The judge doesn't really have a choice because you have to adjudicate on all matters that come before you. But as a private practitioner, I can do that, and so far so good. And I'm happy even at the bar, Western Bar. It's they they don't fail to remind me that I'm a sister. Every gathering there, because sister pray for us, that kind of thing. But it's fun. It's fun, yeah. I'll say.
I believe you had a purpose for becoming a lawyer.
Sure.
How is the process of fulfilling that purpose so far?
I've always loved, like, it's been my dream to be a lawyer. And when I became a sister, I thought that was it. Like, I've chosen one. So it's a lawyer or a sister. But later on, actually, when I was going to the university, I applied to do law. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was given something else to do. I think it was fortunately. Perhaps if I had studied law from the beginning, I wouldn't have
thought
been.
of becoming a sister.
Exactly, because after school you want to make money and all that, practicing, rigorous practice. But I going somewhere else and then later finding out that I can do this, be a sister and then practice law as well. So after novitiate, normally in our congregation you have to do a 5-year plan of your ministry trajectory. And so I expressed that, and I had met some of our sisters in the US who were lawyers. Okay. So there was one sister on our general counsel who is an attorney, an immigration lawyer. So it was, and even in my novitiate group, there was a lawyer in the group. So all that gave me some, hope that, okay, this is not really lost. So when we came back, I worked at our school for 2 years. And then it was time to go to school. I discussed, okay, if I do the law, how will it benefit us as a congregation in Ghana? And we realized that it's a lot. We have property and we do a lot of things that involve legalities. And so that it wasn't a difficult conversation to have. So like interest meeting opportunity. Afar. so I would say that it was just God's grace. And,
Before, sisters were known to be teachers and nurses.
Yes.
But now, thanks be to God, it is opened that we have all kinds of profession within the religious life. So in case you are still discerning, don't hesitate, please. If you are a lawyer already in practicing, you have your colleague here. So kindly rush to her and then form a beautiful community. Sister Renata, you are the vocation directress for your congregation. If any young lady wishes to be a member, what qualities are you looking for, or what qualifications are you looking for in that person?
Okay, thank you again, as she said. And for whatever reason, the two of us, I just took over from her in the office. So we will share this.
Okay.
And then, so first of all, the quality that we look for in somebody expressing the desire, you have to be a Catholic, a baptized and confirmed Catholic. We want to see you as a good Christian, practicing Catholic as well. We want to have somebody, a woman of faith and prayer, a woman who yearns to do more outside her own circle. Somebody who wants to live a community life. We have people who want to live alone, and because we are religious, community life is one of the things that we look out for. So the person should be somebody who can live a community life. These are few qualities that we look for. But first of all, the person should have also the desire. The desire. Because if there's no desire that is burning in you, you may come and you may not find fulfillment.
Yeah.
Because in religious life, everything that we look for is fulfillment in what we choose in doing. So these are a few qualities that I see. So if anybody is discerning, these are the things that you may be discerning towards, or something that you look up to in becoming a religious.
And then the qualifications.
You have to have had some education, at least secondary school education or its equivalent. So because sometimes the person may have been in TVET, so and you have to have the capacity to go further in, because we believe in capacity building. You cannot give what you don't have, and we serve people and we want to be competent enough. Of course, competence is not gathered only in education, but education plays a huge role. You should be willing to be a person who wants to study and acquire knowledge, go further, and be open to learning as well, and flexibility. Because sometimes there may be a need somewhere that, oh, I want to be a nurse or I want to be a teacher, and that's all I would be. Not very long ago, our president came to visit, and in the conversation, she said that when she joined the congregation, she thought all she would be is a music teacher. And she ended up being the president, and she's done many other things, So someone who is open to exploring, as I said, and we have both said, that we discern needs and respond. So the need may take you places that you may not. And you should also be someone who can live outside of your country. We don't necessarily mission people back to out. Like, there are other missionary congregations. Yes. When you join them, you know that by all means, you will spend some years in another. We are not necessarily that. But where there is a need for any sister to do something outside of their own country, you should be willing to do that as well. Yes.
So because before my guests give their final words to us, I would like to share this with you, that Friars Valley Water is a new bottling water produced in Salt Pond. It is produced by the Franciscan Friars. It is FDA approved, and in case you want to do business with them, kindly call 0550 492 316. 0550 492 316. Friars Valley Water. Kindly call them and then do business with them. Sister, your final words, and then a number in case somebody wants to join your congregation.
Thank you. I wanted to give a little bit about some of the stages we have.
Okay.
Because somebody may ask, if I want to be a sister, how long will it take me? And sometimes people count the number of years and seem
exactly.
Like, hey.
They'll be asking you, how many years is the formation?
Yes. So I want to just give a little breakdown of the stages we have. So for us, Sisters of the Holy Cross, some of the stages are the same for other congregations. We say we begin with living discernment program or stage. And that is where the young lady comes to stay with us, study how our way of life is, while we also study the person's way of life. And when we see that your way of life tally with ours, and yours also tally with us, you are welcome. Sometimes the young lady may say that, yes, I wanted to be, but looking at how things are going, I think I am done. I want to go. You are free to do that. So it is two-way traffic. You steady, we steady you. That one is between 3 months to 6 months. You do that. Then the one we call candidacy or postulancy. That one also ranges between 6 months to 2 years, depending on the person's own readiness. So you can start calculating by adding what I'm talking about. So you add the candidacy program to the living discernment program. And that is the time you study more about yourself, more about the congregation, understand things that the church does in different ways. Then you move into the novitiate. When you move to the novitiate is 2 years for almost all female congregations. It's 2 years. During these 2 years, you also learn more about yourself, more about the congregation, more about the church, and also get into deeper self of what you are looking out for. Then you make your first vows. The vows are the vow of obedience, chastity, and poverty. So you live this vow for a number of years. Canonically, it's between 3 years to 9 years. For us, you leave it for 5 years. And then after the 5 years, you make your final commitment, or what we call the perpetual vows. So it is the same vows that you pronounce, but at different time, where you say that this time around, I want to fully be committed to this particular way of life. So I'm sure my ladies are calculating and putting these years together. Please, I want to add that at every stage you apply, because this program is not something that somebody forces you in. So you apply at every stage to say, I am ready. And when you apply, the congregation also sees and say that we are also ready to live with you. So at every stage you apply, the congregation also affirms your application. So this is the little I wanted to add to it. And if you want to know more about us, you can reach us on 054 598 4718. 054 598 4718. Our life is such a beautiful one, and so I will encourage most young women. Sometimes you organize a lot of programs like Come and See. Come and see, as the name goes, come and you will see something. So whether you have the desire or not, you come and see something. When you come, God may speak to you in a very different or unique way. Sometimes you may not come because you want to be a sister, but by divine providence, you may find yourself there. Come and also learn more about the church, more about the faith. And I believe together we will build a better country or a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. Sister Calista.
Thank you. In my short ministry as a vocation director, one of the things I noticed was that people would say, what if I go and it doesn't work out? And so it's put fear in a lot of people.
Even the parents.
Yes. And so what I want to say finally is that there is no waste of time in religious life or priesthood. Or I think in anything that one finds him or herself doing. Even if, they say, I go and it doesn't work out, God wanted you to be there at that time that you were there. If I had left at some point in more, and I still don't know, because it's a discernment. We don't know what the future holds, but I can say for now I'm happy being a sister. But if I am to leave Holy Cross today, I will never think of my years here as a waste of time, because I have grown as a Christian. I am a better person. I have better relationships than I may have been if I were not. So there is nothing like a waste of time in exploring religious life. So if you have the desire, if you are a woman and you have the desire, if you are a girl, you have the desire to serve God in a unique way, in a way that frees you from all encumbrances and to be able to express and live radically and passionately and with fire and zeal, then I will say that explore religious life. I'm a Holy Cross sister, so I will say to Holy Cross, but to any congregation that would make you come alive. So that's my message to all the beautiful young men and women out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sisters. I know some of you are just joining Cafdil TV for this discussion, but all is not lost. You can still get a recap of this on Facebook, Cafdil Cape Coast, YouTube, Cafdil Edu. I did this beautiful conversation with Sister Renata and Sister Calista, all from the congregation of the Sisters of the Holy Cross. Sisters of the Holy Cross. They are all from Sisters of the Holy Cross, and we've had a beautiful conversation. I know that all your questions have been answered. All the doubts you had so far has been cleared. So let's meet, God willing, next week for another edition of Religious Vocation Digest. See you.